You might recall that scope relates to code accessibility. It determines which part of the code are accessible by different parts of the program. In this video, you will explore scoping in more detail and learn about two more scope types and how they work with the keywords var, let, and const. You may recall that all the code outside of functions is referred to as global scope, and all the code inside of a function is known as local scope. Local scope states that a variable is only accessible in the function where it is declared. In the ES5 version of JavaScript, only functions can build local scope. The ES6 version of JavaScript introduced a new variety of scope, known as the block scope. Block scope states that a variable declared in a block of code is only accessible inside that block. All the other code outside of the code block cannot access it. Block scope is built when you declare variables using let or const. In other words, when you build variables with let or const, they become immediately scoped to the code block they were created in. The scope of these variables is contained within curly braces. For example, you can declare two separate variables with the same name if one is declared inside curly braces and the other is not. You can then only access these variables inside their scope. Before ES6, the only way to declare a variable in JavaScript was to use the var keyword. The var keyword is very lenient. Let's outline some characteristics of variables that are declared with var. First, you can use it in your code even before it is declared. Also, you can redeclare the same variable when you use var. And the variables are scoped to a function, or if they are declared outside a function, their scope is global. With ES6, the suggested way to declare variables is to use the let or const keywords. Its syntax is very similar to the var syntax, only the keyword is replaced. For example, let's say you want to declare a variable named user and assign it to a string set to the value of Miranda. In ES5, you use the keyword var, the variable user, the equal operator, and then the string value Miranda inside double quotes. In ES6, with let and const, you use the same syntax, only changing the var keyword to either let or const. Note that the syntax is very similar. Okay, so you might be wondering what's the difference between var, let, and const. The simplest explanation is that the behavior of let and const is more strict. With a let or a const variable, you cannot use it in your code before you declare it. You cannot redeclare it using the variable keyword, like you can with var. Finally, it's scoped to the block, even within if statements and loops, like the for or while loops. If you are new to JavaScript, it may be confusing as to when to use either var, let, or const. A pro tip is to remember it like this. Use let if the value might change in the future, and use const if the value will never change. In this video, you learned how the scope of variables changes when you use the keyword var in ES5 JavaScript and when you use the keywords let and const in ES6 JavaScript. Great job!